Thank you and good evening. On behalf of Senator Jenny Arpaza, who is in Sacramento, I do have a letter to read on her behalf. So this is coming from her and her voice. I strongly support the efforts of concerned residents against airport pollution because I too am concerned about the health impacts from the jet emissions on my constituents. The air we breathe is crucial to our health. As a cancer survivor, I know firsthand what it means to have the environment put one's health at risk. This is an issue I am keenly interested in, and I look forward to working closely with Councilmember Bill Rosendahl, Assemblymember Ted Lieu, as well as Marty and Joan Rubin, whom I have met with and discussed this crucial issue. No one should be forced to breathe this pollution, including particulate matter, into their lungs. Again, I am giving you my full support and commitment to addressing these critical Santa Monica Airport issues. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Senator Jenny Arpaza. Well, we've even gone up to the highest ladder we can go up to, and I was mentioning earlier, before Marty started the PowerPoint presentation, that I was back in Washington with the Chamber of LA on a joint mission to talk about LA and its needs. I had the pleasure of being with Senator Barbara Boxer, who's an old friend of mine, frankly, but in my capacity now as an elected official. And in a meeting in her office, I told her there was a health emergency around the edges of the Santa Monica Airport, that the jets have dramatically increased and the toxicity and the westerlies are blowing it right into the lungs of her constituents. She is chair of the Senate Environmental Committee. Most recently, Senator Boxer was here in Los Angeles, where she held some hearings on some other legislation she's dealing with. I again had the pleasure of being with my dear friend Senator Boxer, and we talked a little bit more about the Santa Monica Airport situation, and I introduced her to Joan and Marty Rubin. Afterwards, in a conversation with me, she said, "I get it, Bill. I like the Rubins. This is a serious issue." Standing here tonight, I'd just like to introduce her representative, who's here in the audience. Please stand up. There he is. Let's give him a round of applause. And thank Senator Boxer for her leadership. Thank you. And my hope is that Senator Boxer can hold a hearing on this subject, discuss it, and as the powers to be in Washington and the White House shift, there'll be more energy, I hope, out of the new president, whoever he or she may be, to deal with the issue. And again, thank you, Senator Boxer. Let her know that, how we feel. Mark Carroll is here. Mark, would you stand up for a second? He's the Chief Deputy to Representative Jane Harman. Jane Harman has been a true partner with us in this battle. Come on up, Mark, who's going to say a few words. I got to tell you, Jane is tough and strong, and she doesn't mince her words, and when she believes in something, she's there. As you saw in Marty's slide, there was a slide of Jane and I banging on doors and talking to residents, and I can't tell you how great it is to have such a strong, supportive partner on the federal level in Jane Harman. Please, Mark, you're up.
Thank you. The Congresswoman wanted me to come today, and thank you all for attending this meeting, this important meeting. I want you to know that Congresswoman Harman remains committed to ensuring the continued access to the airport is balanced with the highest possible level of safety for all. She agrees that the proposal by the FAA to Santa Monica is insufficient to secure the safety of airport users and the airport's neighbors, and she applauds the efforts of the City of Santa Monica, Councilmember Bill Rosendahl, Assemblymember Ted Lieu, Congressman Waxman, and others for their efforts towards improving health and safety at Santa Monica Airport. As we saw with last week's close call with a single-engine Cessna plowed through some bushes and onto an adjacent road, anything can happen at any time. Thankfully, nobody was injured last week, but that incident underscores the pressing need for safety improvements so another mishap does not turn tragic. Next week, Congresswoman Harman will be meeting in Washington with Congressman James Oberstar, Chairman of the House Transportation Committee, Congressman Waxman, and members of the Santa Monica City Council and others to discuss the issues at Santa Monica Airport. Let me read an excerpt from a letter she recently sent to Chairman Oberstar regarding next week's meeting. Quote, "The situation between the FAA and Santa Monica officials can best be described as tense, as the city leaders and airport officials in Santa Monica have tried to work with the FAA for the past 5 years to improve runway safety at SMO. I understand the frustration faced by local officials, as I too have been engaged for years with the FAA on safety, noise, and pollution issues at SMO, and the issues are still far from resolution. While our upcoming meeting is designed to focus on runway safety issues, there are also noise and air quality impacts. Too many families are assaulted by noxious jet fuel fumes at the end of the runway, where jets sit and idle while waiting for clearance to depart. The runway is less than 300 feet from their homes. My hope is that if safety concerns can be significantly addressed, the solutions may have the added benefit of moving planes farther away from homes, thereby reducing noise and aircraft emissions. However, improving safety will not necessarily reduce the acrid smell of jet fuel, which airport neighbors breathe. I would therefore request that in addition to safety, our meeting focus attention on potential health impacts, especially on children and seniors who live near SMO. Congresswoman Harman hopes that with a little luck, next week's meeting in Washington will move us that much closer to making the areas around Santa Monica Airport safer, healthier, and quieter for us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you, Jane Harman. I must also say that I had a conversation with Henry Waxman about this. He's looking forward to that meeting that Jane Harman has put together. He will be in that meeting as well, and he's very much aware, and I just want to quote from one of his letters that was sent to us that said, as you know, Santa Monica Airport was selected to receive a grant from the Environmental Protection Agency to study air quality at the airport. The South Coast Air Quality Management District, which is administering the grant, is completing its second round of data collection and monitoring at the Santa Monica Airport and expects to finish that data by the fall of this year. In conjunction with the monitoring of Santa Monica Airport, the city has been recording the idle time of departing jet craft. I'm eager to see their final report, and I continue to explore all avenues to reduce emission at Santa Monica Airport. Thank you, Congressman Henry Waxman. Lori Newman, are you here? I want to introduce you, who represents the great Senator Sheila Kuehl, who's also working with us. Where are you? I just want to introduce you to stand up. There, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate that a lot. Okay, I'd also like to say that we also have from Julia Brownlee's office, and Julia Brownlee has taken an interest and a support in this. She represents Santa Monica, but she also represents Pacific Palisades in our district. As you know, we embrace the whole city of Santa Monica on all of its sides, and some of us are her constituents as well, and she has expressed an interest. And Louise Rishoff, are you here? Could you just stand up for a second so we all can see you? Thank you very much for being here and representing her. Appreciate that a lot. We also know that Ted Lieu needs support among his colleagues. We've talked with Karen Bass, and you know Karen Bass is the whip, isn't that right? Majority whip?
Majority leader.
Majority leader, which makes her second or third? Second or third in the power structure. She's very much interested in this. Part of her district is also in the 11th district, which impacts us in parts of the district as well. And she will be joining in partnership with the lead man here, Ted Lieu, in helping us push the legislation through the Assembly this year. And also Michael Feuer. Some of you know that he represents the Brentwood area, also in the 11th district. I was out campaigning for him when he was in a contest, and I spoke with him yesterday. And he is up in Sacramento, of course, putting legislation together on funding for mass transit. He's done more on mass transit issues in Sacramento in the last 18 months than that legislature has done in the last 10 years. And he is another strong fighter, and he'll be joining with Ted Lieu. So we're building a coalition of other reps who have a piece of the 11th district to get their energy behind this as well, to assist this great leader in providing that kind of leadership. So I want to thank them all for what they're doing for us up there. There are others to acknowledge in the room, and if they would send me a little card like it's just passed around, we'll be able to identify all of the other elected representatives that are here. But again, thank you, members of the congressional delegation in Washington, Jane and Henry, and I want to thank the folks in Sacramento and both the Senate and the Assembly for what they're doing. The point to make to all of us is that we're not alone in our battle. We are building a coalition. We're building a coalition of other elected officials that have an impact on their governmental bodies so that we can actually move from point A to point B. The other reason we're here tonight, frankly, is for public awareness. We want to thank Channel 35 in Los Angeles that will be running this in 750,000 homes, of which there are 50,000